Good evening. My name is Brother Griffin from the True Vine of Israel Bible class, and I would like to say good afternoon to all our sons and daughters of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, both spiritual and physical. And as normal, we're going to open up with a song. Go ahead.
Turn us again, O God of hosts, and cause thy face to shine, and we shall be saved. Thou hast brought a vine out of Egypt. Thou hast cast out the heathen and planted it. Thou preparest room before it, and didst cause it to take deep root, and it filled the land. The hills were covered with the shadow of it, and the boughs thereof were like the goodly cedars. She sent out her boughs unto the sea, and her branches unto the river. Why hast thou then broken down her hedges, so that all they which pass by the way do pluck her? The boar out of the wood doth waste it, and the wild beast of the field doth devour it. Return, we beseech thee, O God of hosts. Look down from heaven and behold, and visit this vine, and the vineyard which they which thy right hand hath planted, and the branch that thou madest strong for thyself. It is it is burned with fire, it is cut down, they perish at the rebuke of thy countenance.
We read Psalms 80, verse 7 through 16. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading and the hearing and the doing of his word. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. You know, this everybody want to belong to a church or a certain denomination. Matter of fact, I have gotten a question as to what denomination am I, and my response to them was what denominations were Jesus and the disciples were. Now, there is a church that was started in Acts chapter 7, and we're going to read. It started with Moses in the wilderness. So the title of this lesson is going to be the Vineyard, the parable of the vineyard, and it's going to be coming out of Matthew chapter 21. We're going to pick this up at verse 33. Matthew 21, and we're going to pick it up at verse 33 because the Lord put a parable right here to tell the scribes and Pharisees how the kingdom of God was going to be, but he described it as a vineyard. And we're going to find out what this vineyard is and what the Lord actually meant in the parable of the vineyard. We're going to pick this up at verse 33. And we're going to go ahead and read this whole parable. And then we're going to go back and break it down verse by verse as to what the Lord is trying to tell us. So I'll pick it up at verse 33.
Hear another parable. There was a certain householder which planted a vineyard, and hedged it around about, and digged a winepress in it, and built a tower, and let it out to the husbandman, and went into a far country. And when the time of the fruit drew near, he sent his servants to the husbandman, that they might receive the fruits of it. And the husbandman took his servants, and beat one, and killed another, and stoned another. Again he sent another servant more than the first, and they did unto them likewise. But last of all he sent unto them his son, saying, They will reverence my son. But when the husbandmen saw the son, they said among themselves, This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and let us seize of his inheritance. And they caught him, and cast him out of the vineyard, and slew him.
So this vineyard, we're going to find out who is the householder. We're going to find out who are the husbandmen, and we're going to find out who was the son, and who were the servants. And we're going to let the Bible speak and point it out who these people are. So he said in verse 33, he's saying there was a certain household which planted a vineyard and hedged it round about. Okay, and digged the wine press in it and built a tower and let it out to husbandmen and went into a far country. So now we got to find out who this household is. I find out who the household is. So we're going to go into the Old Testament and find out who this is. Um, Go to Psalms 80, what we just read. We just opened up in Psalms 80. Go Psalms chapter 80, and we're going to pick this up at verse 1. Psalms 80. We're going to pick it up at verse 1. Because this has gone by the world like a freight train. And everybody's running around here trying to know what church is this, what church should I belong to, what church. But this vineyard right here is going to tell you clearly who the church is, and going to tell you also is how he got polluted. So pick it up at verse 1.
Give ear, O shepherd of Israel, thou that leadest Joseph like a flock, thou that dwellest between the cherubims, shine forth.
We know this is no other than Jesus, because Jesus is the shepherd of Israel, and Jesus led Joseph or Israel. He led them through the wilderness, and he said he dwelled between the cherubims. Why is he dwelling between the cherubims? Because when Adam sinned in the garden, he put cherubims right there to guard the tree of life, which is Jesus in the garden, so they cannot get hope to the tree of life and live forever. So he's been dwelling between the cherubims ever since. So I'll skip down to verse 7 to pick it up.
Turn us again, O God of hosts, and cause thy face to shine, that we shall be saved. Thou hast brought a vine out of Egypt. Thou hast cast out the heathen and planted it.
So he brought the vine out of Egypt. And we know that this vine, we can prove in our scriptures that this vine was no other than the nation of Israel. And he had to drive out the other nations to plant this vine. So he had to drive out the Perizzites, the Canaanites, and all African nations. He had to he had to run them out of Israel so he can put Israel in their land. Go ahead.
Thou preparest room before it, and didst cause it to take deep root, and it filled the land. The hills were covered with the shadow of it, and the boughs thereof were like the godly cedars. She sent out her boughs unto the sea, and her branches unto the river.
So Israel came out a great nation. Israel came out of Egypt, a great nation. And they were everywhere. And I mean, there was over 600 some thousand that were on foot, but it found out that Israel was a great nation. Go ahead.
Why hast thou then broken down her hedges, so that all they which pass by the way do pluck her?
So he said, why has you plucked down the hedges of this vineyard, and everybody that come by pluck out of her and everything? Go ahead.
The boar out of the wood doth waste it, and the wild beast of the field doth devour it.
Go ahead.
Return, we beseech thee, O God of hosts. Look down from heaven, and behold, and visit this vine, and the vineyard which thy right hand hath planted, and the branch that thou madest strong for thyself. It is burned with fire, it is cut down, they perish at the rebuke of thy countenance.
So now, the Lord, just like the Lord has planted this vineyard, he brought Israel out of the land of Egypt. And we can go into Isaiah chapter 5. Go to Isaiah chapter 5. Because I don't want to tell you. I want you to read that for yourself in the Bible. So go to Isaiah chapter 5. Isaiah chapter 5, and we're going to pick this up at verse 1. Isaiah chapter 5. And pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead.
Now will I sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved, touching his vineyard. My well-beloved hath a vineyard in a very fruitful hill, and he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof, and planted it with the choicest vine, and built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a winepress therein. And he looked that it should bring forth grapes. And it brought forth wild grapes. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, Judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard.
So the Lord had planted this vineyard, and He said He planted it to bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes. He did basically he it brought forth sin. Wild grapes is sin. He planted this vineyard. He planted Israel, and it was to be a righteous nation. But then again, it brought forth sin. Go ahead.
What could have been done more to my vineyard,
Mm-hmm.
that I have not done in it? Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, brought it forth wild grapes.
Go ahead.
And now go to, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
I will take away the hedge thereof, and it shall be eaten up, and break down the wall thereof, and it shall be trodden down. And I will lay it waste. It shall not be pruned nor digged, but there shall come up berries, briars
and thorns.
Mm-hmm. I will also command the clouds that they rain no rain upon it. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the host of Israel.
The vineyard of the host of the Lord of hosts is the what? The house of Israel. It's the house of Israel. So that is the vineyard of the Lord. Go ahead.
And the men of Judah his pleasant plant, and he looked for judgment, but behold oppression, for righteousness, but behold a cry.
So he planted it, and he looked for judgment and righteousness. He looked for this stuff, but then again, what happened? He said, "Behold oppression," and he looked for righteousness in it, but behold a cry. So Israel kicked against the Lord's own vineyard that He planted and He did and everything, and they kicked against him. Go to Jeremiah chapter 2. Jeremiah chapter 2. Because the Lord had destroyed His vineyard. But Jeremiah chapter 2, and we're going to pick this up at verse 20. That He destroyed His vineyard. Go ahead.
For of old time I have broken thy yoke, and burst thy bands, and thou saidest, I will not transgress. When upon every high hill and under every green tree thou wanderest, playing the harlot.
So that vine of Israel said, we will not sin, we will not transgress, we will not sin. Everything you say, we will do. But what happened? They kicked against God. And how did they do that? They started worshiping false idols. They started worshiping false God up under every green tree. Go ahead.
Yet I have planted thee a noble vine, holy, a right seed. How then art thou turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me?
So they turned into a degenerate branch, and they also it became a strange vine, because he looked for grapes or righteousness, and it brought forth wild grapes, sin. So so we know the householder, but we're gonna go back to Matthew chapter 21, and we're gonna go through the next verse, because we have now proven through the scriptures that the householder is nothing more than the Lord Himself. He planted His vineyard, and the vineyard is the house of Israel. So go to Acts chapter 7 real quick. Go to Acts chapter 7, and this is the answer to what church you need to belong to, because this church has been around for as long as, even before there was a denomination that were named. It was here before Martin Luther broke off from the Catholic Church, protesting against the infallibility of the Pope, which they called it the Protestants. So this has been long before. And out of the Protestant movement, you have all these denominations coming out of here. But what happened? All of it lead right back to the Catholic Church, which they named themselves a church. But actually that's a little history. But we're going to read in Acts chapter 7, and this is about Stephen. And Stephen was one of the disciples that was full of the Holy Ghost. And he was telling these scribes and Pharisees everything, and he ran it down from the beginning all the way on down to the end where they killed Jesus. But he said something here in verse 36. Pick it up in he talking about Moses. Pick it up in 35, verse 35. Acts chapter 7 and verse 35.
This Moses, whom they refused, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge? The same did God send to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of the angel which appeared to him in the bush.
So now he goes all the way back to Moses and the angel and everything. Go ahead.
He brought them out after that he had showed wonders and signs in the land of Egypt, and in the Red Sea, and in the wilderness 40 years.
Go ahead.
This is that Moses which said unto the children of Israel, A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear.
Go ahead.
This is he that was in the church in the wilderness, with the angel which spake of him in the Mount Sinai, and with our fathers, who received the lively oracles to give unto us.
So who is the church? Who is the church? Is it the Baptist? No. Is it the Methodist? No. It is the holiness. If it's the apostolic, is it the Catholic Church? No, it did not say that here, because the Catholic Church did not exist back in Moses' time. But what he said, this is that Moses which said to the children of Israel. And this is that same Moses that was in the church. Who is the church? The church is the nation of Israel. So if you are not part of the commonwealth, like Paul said, if you are not part of the commonwealth of Israel, you are not in the true church. We're going to go ahead. Go back to Matthew chapter 21. Matthew chapter 21. And we're going to pick this up at verse 34. Because a lot of people, this thing is so airtight that, you're talking about this church in the wilderness, which is Israel. And church don't mean nothing but congregation. And it was in the church that Moses stood up and said all these things. So, that is the true church. That's when the church was started. It started with Israel. Okay. Pick this up at verse 34.
And when the time of the fruit drew near, he sent his servants to the husbandmen, that they might receive the fruits of it.
Okay, now we need to find out who the husbandmen are, and also we need to find out. He lent it out to the husbandmen, and we're gonna find out who the servants are. So now go to Luke chapter 3. I'm sorry, Luke 13. Luke chapter 13. Luke chapter 13. And we're going to pick this up at verse 34. Luke 13 and 34.
O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, which killest the prophets and stoneth them that are sent unto thee. How often would I have gathered thy children together, as a hen doth gather her brood under her wings, and ye would not.
So the Lord kept on sending. What who were the husbandmen? The husbandman was no more than the scribes and the Pharisees. Because why? He said the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. So the vineyard, or the nation of Israel, was lent out to the husbandmen, which were the scribes and the Pharisees. But then again, who were the servants that the Lord sent? He said what? He said the prophets. You killing the prophets. You killing them. You stoning them. You doing everything. You doing all that to my servants. I am sending them to you, and you are killing them. And you're killing you. And my apostles, you are going to kill them and run them out of synagogues too. But then again, the scribes and Pharisees are what we call today preachers and pastors. Those are the husbandmen that the Lord left in charge of the church. And we're going to find out what these husbandmen did, and they are still doing. Go back to Matthew 21. Go back to Matthew 21. Matthew 21, and we're going to keep reading. Go to Matthew and pick it up at verse 35.
And the husbandman took his servants and beat one and killed another and stoned another.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he sent other servants more than the first, and they did unto them likewise.
So the Lord said, I sent my servants, the prophets, I sent them to you. And you kept stoning them, and you kept killing them, and you kept stoning them, and you kept killing them. So these are the servants that the Lord has sent to the vineyard, but the husbandman killed them. Keep reading.
But last of all, he sent unto them his son, saying, They will reverence my son.
So last of all, he said, look, he said, they're gonna reverence my son. They're gonna reverence him. So read the next verse. Go ahead.
But when the husbandmen saw the son, they said among themselves, This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and let us seize on his inheritance.
Let us kill him and let us seize on his inheritance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's find out who is the heir. Who is the heir? Go to Hebrews chapter 1. Hebrews chapter 1. Hebrews chapter 1. And we're going to pick this up at verse 1. Hebrews chapter 1. And go ahead and start at verse 1. Hebrews chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead.
God, who at sundry times and in divers manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets,
by his servants that he sent to the vineyard. Go ahead.
Hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the world.
So the Father had appointed the Son the heir of all things. So he said, oh, surely they're going to reverence my son. I'm going to send my son down there. But what happened? Go back to Matthew 21. Matthew 21. And pick this up at verse 38. And read that over. Mm-hmm.
But when the husbandmen saw the son, they said among themselves, This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and let us seize on his inheritance.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And they caught him and cast him out of the vineyard and slew him.
So why did they have to cast him out the vineyard? Who was the vineyard? The vineyard is the nation of Israel. But they had to cast him out of the vineyard. Let's find out what are they talking about here. Go to Hebrews chapter 13. Hebrews. Go back to Hebrews. And we're going to pick it up at Hebrews chapter 13. And we're going to pick it up at verse 9. Now this is Paul talking to the Hebrews. Pick it up at verse 9 and go ahead.
Be not carried about with divers and strange doctrines, for it is a good thing that the heart be established with grace, not with meats which have not profited them that have been occupied therein.
He said, don't go about these strange doctrines and everything, these diverse strange doctrines. What is a strange doctrine? A doctrine is something that you cannot prove in the Bible. The Bible is the only doctrine or the teaching you need to go up under. And go ahead.
We have an altar whereof they have no right to eat, which serve the tabernacle.
If you have any understanding of the Old Testament and the priests and everything, nobody had a right to eat there, but the priest. Go ahead.
For the bodies of those beasts whose blood is brought into the sanctuary by the high priest for sin are burned without the camp.
Yeah, they are burned without the camp. Go ahead.
Wherefore Jesus also, that he might sanctify the people with his own blood, suffered without the gate.
So why did he have to get cast outside the gate? Why he had to be cast outside the vineyard? Because the vineyard was polluted. The Lord can be there, and we're going to show you that. Go Go to Exodus chapter 32. And we're going to find out when did this vineyard, the nation of Israel, became polluted. Go to Exodus chapter 32. Exodus chapter 32. Exodus chapter 32, because he said, don't be led with these diverse different doctrines and stuff like that. Don't be dealing with that stuff. You know, Sunday worship, Easter, Christmas, all that stuff that's not mentioned in the Bible. Don't be dealing with that stuff. All that stuff is strange doctrine. Exodus chapter 32. Exodus 32. And pick this up at verse 1. Exodus 32 and verse 1. Go ahead.
And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron, and said unto him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as far as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him.
Go ahead.
And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons and your daughters, and bring them unto me.
So was there any resistance? Aaron was supposed to be the high priest. Aaron was supposed to be the high priest. But Aaron, did he say, no, don't do this, this is a sin? No, he went right along with it. Break off all the earrings in your sons and daughters' ears. Go ahead.
And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hands, and fashioned it with a graven tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, These be thy gods, O Israel.
He said, These be thy gods, O Israel. Go ahead.
Which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
So he said, These be this molten calf. He said, These be our gods that brought us out of the land of Egypt. Now, this is that vineyard that the Lord brought up out the land of the land of Egypt. But they say that this molten calf did it. Okay, go ahead.
And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made proclamation and said, Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord.
Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord. They'd have made a molten image and praised and worshipped it, saying that this is the God that brought us out of the land of Egypt. Then they said, Go ahead, and tomorrow we're gonna make a feast to the Lord. Go ahead.
And then rose up early on the morrow, and offered burnt offerings, and brought peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and to drink, and rose up to play.
They rose up to play. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Go get thee down, for thy people which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves.
They have corrupted themselves. How they corrupted themselves? By doing a strange doctrine. That it is a strange doctrine, saying these be the gods that lead us out of Egypt. It is a strange doctrine, said that this God that was born on the 25th day of December, he is my God. No, it is a strange doctrine, because that wasn't named. It was not named among the Ten Commandments. So therefore, it was strange. It was strange to them. Thou shalt not have no other gods before me. Skip down to verse 35 and pick it up.
35. And the Lord plagued the people because they made the calf which Aaron made.
So the Lord plagued the people because they made this calf. So he plagued them. Okay. Now, go right on ahead to 33 and pick it up at verse 1.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Depart and go up hence, thou and the people which thou hast brought up out of the land of Egypt, unto the land which I swear unto Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, Unto thy seed will I give it.
Go ahead.
And I will send an angel before thee, and I will drive out the Canaanites and Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzite, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. For I will not go up in the midst of thee, for thou art a stiff-necked people, lest I consume thee in the way.
Then he said a householder. The householder had, he prepared a place, and we read in the Psalms where he drove out those people, where he can plant this vineyard, he can plant this nation. Go ahead.
And when the people heard these evil tidings, they mourned, and no man did put on his ornaments.
Go ahead.
For the Lord hath said unto Moses, Say unto the children of Israel, Ye are a stiff-necked people.
Mm-hmm.
I will come up into the midst of thee in a moment, and consume thee. Therefore now put out off thy ornaments from thee, that I may know what to do unto thee.
Go ahead.
And the children of Israel stripped themselves of their ornaments by the Mount Horeb.
Go ahead.
And Moses took the tabernacle and pitched it without the camp.
See, Moses had to take the tabernacle, and what he had to do, he had to go without the camp. He had to put it out the camp. Why? Because the camp was polluted now, because they have served other gods. Go ahead.
Afar off from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of the congregation. And it came to pass that every one which sought the Lord went out unto the tabernacle of the congregation which was without the camp.
Because that was the only place that was clean. The only place that was clean is outside the church, or outside the congregation, or outside the vineyard. Because the vineyard or the church has been polluted because they have been worshiping other gods. So now the church is polluted now. So now you have to come outside the camp. That's why they had to bring Jesus outside the camp and kill him. Because that's the only clean place. Go to Jeremiah chapter 12. Jeremiah chapter 12. And we're going to pick it up at verse 7. Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 12. And we're going to pick this up at verse 7. Jeremiah 12. Verse 7. Go ahead.
I have forsaken mine house.
Yeah, the Lord has forsaken his house. He said, I can't dwell among y'all. I'll kill all y'all. I can't dwell among you. So the Lord had to leave him alone. Go ahead.
I have left mine heritage. I have given the dearly beloved of my soul into the hand of her enemies.
Of course, because he put Israel in captivity, and he had all these nations to come and whoop Israel head, because Israel, or his vineyard, had yelled out against him. They sinned against him. Go ahead.
Mine heritage is unto me as a lion in the forest. It crieth out against me, therefore have I hated it.
Go ahead.
Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird, and the birds around about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour.
So everybody is devouring on this nation of people, his inheritance, his vineyard. Everybody is picking on. So you find out on this planet where there's a certain group of people that has always been oppressed by every nation under the sun. Every nation under the sun has been oppressing these people. Who? The children of Israel, the Lord's vineyard. That's why he said he's going to put the vineyard on fire. Because why? They yelled out against him. They sinned against him by what? Worshiping other gods. Go ahead.
Many pastors have destroyed my vineyard.
So it's many pastors that has destroyed his vineyard. It wasn't the common people. These are the pastors, are the husbandmen in the parable. They have destroyed the vineyard of the Lord. They have destroyed the church of the Lord. Go ahead.
They have trodden my portion underfoot. They have made my pleasant portion a desolate wilderness.
They have made it a desolate wilderness. But who did it? The pastors did it. Who did it? The people who sit in Moses' seat. Who did it? The high priest, Aaron. Because Aaron did not put up a resistance. He didn't do anything, and he went right along with the people. So therefore, he polluted the vineyard, and therefore, everybody is consumed. I mean, this whole vineyard, this whole church is consumed. So we're going to go back to Matthew 21. Matthew 21. And Matthew 21. And we're going to pick this up at verse 40. Matthew 21 and verse 40. 21 and 40. Go ahead. Matthew 21 and 40. Because this vineyard has been destroyed. The church has been destroyed. And ever since 70 AD, when Titus of Rome destroyed Jerusalem, and scattered all the rest of the nation of Israel, or scattered the rest of the pieces of vine, then the truth have fell to the ground. Nobody's teaching the truth no more. Everybody is confused. So therefore, let's go ahead and pick this up at verse 40. Matthew 21 and 40. Go ahead.
When the Lord therefore of the vineyard cometh, what will he do unto those husbandmen?
What are you going to do to those husbandmen? Those husbandmen then killed his servants that he sent them. He didn't kill them. And then next thing you know, them husbandmen, they had, finally, they had destroyed the son. They destroyed the son that, they killed him and threw him without the camp, without the church. And they did this to his son. And they tried to seize on the inheritance. Go ahead.
They say unto him, he will miserably destroy those wicked men, and will let out his vineyard unto other husbandmen, which shall render him the fruits of their season.
So he gonna cast those husbandmen out. He lent it to, and he gonna lend it to others. Who is he talking about? Actually, he's talking about the first resurrection. He gonna lend it out. He gonna lend his vineyard to other husbandmen. And what they're gonna do? They're gonna render him fruits in their due season, like the scribes and Pharisees were supposed to be doing. Go ahead.
Jesus saith unto them, did ye never read in the scriptures, the stone which the builders rejected, the same is become the head of the corner? This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes.
Go ahead, skip down to 45 and read that.
And when the chief priests and Pharisees had heard this parable, they perceived that he spake of them.
They perceived that Jesus was speaking to them. Of course he was speaking to them, because first, the household is the Lord. He got a vineyard and he planted it. He brought the vineyard out of Egypt. The vineyard is the nation of Israel. The church is the nation of Israel. The church is not the Pentecostals. The church is not the Catholics. The church is not Jehovah's Witness. It's not Seventh-day Adventists. It's not even non-denominational, because non-denominational falls right up under the Catholic Church. If you're doing anything of the Catholic Church, you are a Catholic. You came out of that. You came out of that pollution. So yeah, the church has been polluted. So you got to come outside that church. You got to come outside that church. Anything that is not of this Bible, you got to come out of it. You got to come out of it, because the camp or the church has been polluted, and come into the true church, which is the nation of Israel. Keep the commandments of God and have faith in Jesus Christ, and you are a part of the children of Israel spiritually. And with that, let's say the vineyard is Israel. Jesus is the householder. The scribes and the Pharisees are the husbandmen that the vineyard was lent out to. The servants that were sent to him and that were stoned and that were killed and everything, those were the prophets and those were the apostles that he sent to the vineyard or the church, and they persecuted them. So with that, I thank you for your time.